The dawn rises slowly over the northern sea, spreading a pale light across the frozen land. The air is sharp and filled with salt, the kind that bites your lungs when you breathe. In the distance, dark mountains rest beneath heavy clouds, their peaks hidden in white mist. Below them, a small village stirs awake. Smoke begins to rise from wooden rooftops. A few dogs bark, their voices echoing through the still morning. The sea murmurs softly, steady and endless, as if whispering ancient secrets only the wind can understand. In one of the long wooden houses, a fire crackles to life. The warmth crawls across rough walls, illuminating faces still heavy with sleep. A mother stirs a pot of porridge while her children rub their eyes. The smell of smoke, fish, and damp wood fills the air. Outside, men prepare for another day's work. Some go to check the nets left in the fuel. Others gather firewood, their boots crunching against frozen ground. Life here is simple, but never easy. Every breath, every meal is earned from the harsh land that both gives and takes. Beyond the village, the forest waits dark and silent. It holds both fear and fuel. Wolves still roam in the deeper parts, and men do not wander too far alone. Yet the forest also gives timber, the bones of ships, and the warmth that keeps life burning through winter's bite. To the people here, the forest, the mountains, and the sea are all alive. Spirits dwell in the stones, gods speak through the wind, and fate weaves its invisible threads through every moment. As the sun climbs higher, light glimmers across the waves. The sea looks peaceful now, but every villager knows its true nature. It can change without warning, calm one moment, cruel the next. Still, the people cannot live without it. It feeds them, connects them, and tempts them with mysteries beyond the horizon. Somewhere out there, they believe, lies more than mere survival. There are lands rich with treasure, cities filled with wonders, and stories waiting to be written in the sagas. But for now, the day begins, as all others do, with work, with quiet endurance, and with hope. A boy stands on the shore, watching gulls circle above the water. He hears his father call, telling him to fetch the fishing nets. The boy looks once more at the horizon before turning away. He does not know it yet, but one day, that same horizon will call him back. One day, he too will feel the pull of the open sea, the rhythm of oars against water, and the promise of something greater waiting beyond the edge of the world. The village hums with quiet life. The cold wind carries the scent of pine and salt. Fires burn softly in every home, and somewhere in the distance, a horn sounds a simple call for gathering, or maybe a warning of a storm. The people have learned to live between these sounds, the wind, the sea, and the silence of waiting. In this fragile peace, they endure. They do not yet know the fame or fear their name will carry in distant lands. For now, they are only people of the north, bound to the land and the sea, standing at the edge of history, waiting for destiny to wake. Life in the northern village moves with the rhythm of the seasons. Each day begins before the sun rises and ends long after it sinks below the frozen hills. The people wake to the smell of smoke and the faint warmth of dying embers in the hearth. The longhouse is dark, its air thick with the scent of wood, wool, and earth. Families sleep close together under animal furs, not for comfort, but for survival. Outside, the world is cold, silent, and endless. Men pull on rough tunics and woolen cloaks. Women stir the morning meal, a thick porridge made from barley or oats, sweetened with a drop of honey if fortune allows. The children help as best they can, fetching water from the frozen stream or carrying wood for the fire. Every member of the household has a purpose. Idleness is a luxury no one can afford. The fields must be tended, the animals fed, and the tools repaired. Even in the coldest months, there is work to be done. The village is small, perhaps a few dozen souls. Smoke rises from the thatched roofs, twisting into the pale sky. Chickens scratch near the doorways. A few dogs wander between houses, noses low to the ground, tails wagging lazily. Beyond the fields, the sea glimmers like iron.com for now, but never truly at rest. The people here have learned not to trust its silence. They know its moods too well. It can feed them one day and take everything the next. Inside the longhouse, warmth and light flicker. The center fire burns all day, its smoke escaping through a small hole in the roof. Around it, the family gathers to eat, to talk, and to mend what the world has broken. The walls are lined with tools, fishing nets, and carved wooden figures of the gods. Odin watches from his perch, one eye carved wide and knowing. Thor stands beside him, his hammer raised to keep away storms and spirits. Faith he has woven into every breath, every superstition, every quiet prayer whispered before sleep. When evening comes, the wind outside grows colder, pressing against the walls like an unseen hand. The villagers huddle closer to the fire. Someone begins to speak, an old man, his beard white as frost. His voice is slow and deep, carrying the weight of stories passed down through generations. He speaks of the gods, of heroes who sailed beyond the edge of the world, of men who faced giants and storms and returned with treasures untold. The children listen with wide eyes, their faces glowing in the firelight. Outside, the stars appear one by one, bright and sharp against the endless dark. The sea murmurs softly beyond the fields, and the smell of pine drifts through the air. In the longhouse, laughter fades into silence. One by one, the villagers lie down to rest, wrapped in the warmth of fur and the comfort of the stories that keep their dreams alive. Life in the village is hard, but it is steady. There is hunger, yes, and fear of the unknown, but there is also pride. Every wall built, every fish caught, every child born is a victory against the cold world. They do not yet know that their quiet lives will become legend, that one day others will speak their name with awe and wonder. For now, they are only people surviving the north, tending fires against the dark, dreaming of something greater that waits beyond the sea. One morning, the wind carries whispers through the village. The fishermen speak of ships seen on the horizon, of men returning from faraway lands with silver in their hands and stories in their eyes. Around the fires, people begin to talk in low voices, not about storms or harvests, but about the sea. The old men remember tales from their youth of raids along the English coast, of monasteries rich with gold and soft-spoken monks who carried no weapons. The younger men listen, their blood stirring with curiosity. Life in the village has always been hard. The land gives only what it must, and even then not without struggle. The soil is thin, the winters cruel. Sometimes, when the harvest fails, there is hunger. When the fish vanish from the bay, there is fear. So when the sea whispers of riches and adventure, it is a voice impossible to ignore. It begins as a thought, quiet, almost secret, and soon becomes a fever that spreads from one man to another. In the days that follow, axes ring through the forest. Men fell tall pines and drag them to the shore. The scent of fresh sap fills the air as timber is shaped into the curved bones of a ship. The shipbuilders know their craft well. They work with patience and pride, shaping wood as though it were alive. The longship must be light, yet strong, fast, yet steady. Each plank is carved by hand, each joint sealed with tar. Children gather on the beach to watch, their eyes wide as the shape of the vessel slowly appears like a dragon rising from the earth. Women sew sails from wool and linen, their fingers moving carefully through the fabric. They dye them in shades of red and brown, so they will stand out on the open sea. Ropes are twisted, oars carved, shields painted. There is purpose in every motion. The village hums with energy, part excitement, part fear. Even those who will not sail feel the pull of the ocean. At night, around the fire, the men speak of omens. Some dream of black ravens, a sign of Odin's watchful eye. Others claim to have seen a red sunrise, warning of blood to come. Before sleep, they whisper small prayers to the gods, to Thor for strength, to Njord for safe passage, to Freya for luck. The women listen silently, knowing that when the ships leave, the sea may not return them all. Days turn into weeks, and at last the ship stands ready. Its dragon-headed prow gleams in the morning light, its hull polished and proud. The men gather their weapons, axes, spears, and round wooden shields painted with bold colors. Few possess fine armor. Most wear leather or wool, trusting in their courage more than iron. They test their oars, their rhythm slow and steady. The sound echoes over the bay, mingling with the cries of gulls. The village gathers to watch the first voyage. Children cling to their mothers' eyes wide with awe. Old men nod in silence, remembering their own youth. The ship slides into the water, and the sea accepts it as though it had been waiting. For a moment, all is still. Then a voice shouts, a drum beats, and the longship glides forward, its sail catching the wind. As the ship disappears into the mist, those left behind stand quietly, listening to the sound of oars fading into the distance. The sea keeps its secrets, and the horizon swallows the brave. No one knows what waits beyond, only that something calls to them, something greater than fear. And so it begins the life of the Viking raider, born not from greed, but from the endless hunger for more than the land can give. The longship rests in the shallow water, its wooden frame glistening with fresh oil. To those who built it, it is more than a vessel. It is a living thing, carved from the forest and blessed by the sea. Its curved sides gleam like wet bone, and the dragon's head at its prow stares fiercely toward the horizon. The men walk around it with quiet reverence, their hands brushing along the smooth hull as if feeling the pulse of something ancient. It is strong, but light enough to be carried over sandbanks and rivers. It can slice through waves or drift in shallow waters where no other ship dares to go. When the time comes to test it, the men gather on the beach. Their voices are low, their eyes steady. Each man takes his place, lifting his oar and waiting for the signal. The sound of the first stroke breaks the morning silence with scraping against water. Then another, and another, until the rhythm becomes a heartbeat. The longship moves slow at first, then faster, cutting through the gray waves as if it has always belonged there. The dragon's head rises and falls with the motion of the sea, and the wind fills the sail with a deep, whispering sigh. Life aboard the longship is simple, but harsh. There are no cabins, no shelter from the cold or rain. The men sleep where they sit, wrapped in wool and fur, their weapons close to hand. Food is dried, fish, hard bread, and water stored in barrels. Sometimes they catch fresh fish from the sea or gather seaweed for flavor. When the wind is kind, they sail. When it dies, they row. Always, they move forward, guided by stars, by instinct, and by faith. At night, the sea glows faintly under the light of the moon. The men whisper among themselves, voices barely rising above the sound of waves. Some speak of home, of wives waiting by the hearth, of children who will grow without seeing their fathers for many moons. Others talk of dreams, of gold and silver waiting beyond the edge of the map. A few stay silent, staring into the dark horizon, their thoughts swallowed by the sound of the water. There are moments when the sea grows restless. The wind howls like a living creature, the waves rise higher than the ship's sides, and the sky disappears into a storm of rain and foam. The longship creaks and groans, but it holds. The men bailed water with their hands, shouting prayers to Thor, their voices torn away by the wind. They do not know if the gods are listening, but they believe, and belief is what keeps them alive. When the storm passes, the sea grows still again. The clouds drift apart, revealing stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. The men rest, too tired to speak. They lie on their shields, staring upward, and let the waves rock them like children in a cradle. The longship drifts quietly, its dragon's head turned toward the horizon as though it knows the way. In those quiet hours, the world feels endless. The men understand, in some small way, that they are part of something larger than themselves. A bond between man, wood, and sea. The longship is their home, their hope, their fate. It carries not just their bodies, but their dreams, their courage, and their longing for more than the life they left behind. And as dawn breaks once again, painting the waves in pale gold, they take up their oars. The sound of rowing begins anew, steady, patient, eternal. Ahead lies the unknown. Behind them, the land grows smaller, fading into mist. The sea has claimed them now, and they do not look back. The morning begins with the creak of wood and the slap of cold spray against the ship's hull. The men wake to a pale horizon, their breath visible in the chill air. The wind has turned steady and sharp, filling the square sail with a deep sigh. The longship glides forward like a shadow, its oars dipping rhythmically into the gray water. The world around them is endless, no land in sight, only the vast ocean breathing beneath the clouds. For days, the sea has been their home. The men no longer speak much. Words are wasted here. Instead, there is rhythm, the groan of timbers, the crash of waves, the soft hiss of salt against the skin. When the wind is kind, they let the sail carry them. When it dies, they row together, 30 men moving as one. The sea tests them, stripping away weakness, leaving only in... Their world has become small. The length of the ship, the stretch of sky above, and the dark water below. Meals are simple, dried fish, hard bread, sometimes a strip of smoked meat. The water in the barrels grows warm and bitter, but it is all they have. When rain comes, they lift their faces to the sky, catching droplets with open mouths. A good storm can fill their barrels again. A bad one can end them all. The nights are long and strange. The stars wheel slowly overhead, guiding them west. They know each one by heart, the North Star, the Bear, the Belt. These are their compass, their silent guardians. Some men say they can hear the gods in the wind, whispering through the ropes and sails. Others hear only the sea, and that is enough. Sometimes the fog rolls in thick, heavy, swallowing sound and sight alike. The world disappears into white silence. The men row carefully, listening to the faint slap of oars and the groan of the ship. In those moments, fear sits quietly among them, not of battle or blood, but of losing the way, of drifting forever into nothing. Yet when the fog lifts, revealing light again, they whisper thanks to Endured, God of the sea, and press on. Days blend together, marked only by the rising and setting of the sun. The men's hands blister and crack, their faces burn from wind and salt. Yet there is pride in their suffering. Every mile gained is a victory. Every storm endured a sign of strength. The ocean is cruel, but it is honest. It respects only the brave. Then one morning, the sea begins to change. The waves grow smaller. The air smells different, softer, greener. Gulls appear, circling and crying above the mast. One man points toward the horizon. There, through the mist, lies a dark shaped land. Excitement stirs among them. The oars quicken, the sail fills, and the longship surges forward. As the coastline takes shape, they see trees, cliffs, and the faint glimmer of smoke. A river mouth opens before them, calm and inviting. The men smile for the first time in many days. They have crossed the sea and lived. Ahead lies the promise of new shores, of silver, food, and stories to carry home. The ship slows, the oars lift, and the longship drifts on the tide. The men sit in silence, watching the land draw near. For a moment, all they hear is the whisper of the waves against the wood. The sea has released them for now. What waits beyond the shore, they do not yet know. But the journey has changed them. They are no longer mere farmers or fishermen. They are Vikings, raiders of the north, and the world ahead will soon remember their names. The coastline rises before them, quiet and still beneath the morning sky. Mist clings to the cliffs, softening the edges of the land. The air smells of grass and earth, a scent forgotten after weeks of salt and wind. The men watch in silence as the longship glides closer, their eyes fixed on the faint outline of a settlement beyond the trees. A small church bell rings in the distance, carried by the breeze. The sound is pure, gentle, and unaware of what approaches. The longship slips into the mouth of the river, its oars moving in perfect rhythm. No one speaks. Every creak of wood feels louder than thunder. The men's faces are calm but focused. They have done this before, or they have heard enough stories to know how it will unfold. The leader raises his hand, and the oars lift from the water. The ship drifts the last few feet in silence. The only sounds are the cries of gulls and the faint murmur of prayer from the village ahead. They land where the tide meets the grass. Boots splash into the shallows. Shields clatter softly as the men step ashore. The air is cool, the world still half asleep. In the distance stands the monastery, small, stone, and peaceful. Smoke curls from its chimney. The monks inside have no reason to fear the sea. They do not yet know what it can bring. The Vikings move quickly, not with rage, but with precision. They are here for silver, for supplies, for survival. Their axes glint in the pale light, their shields raised more from habit than need. The monastery's doors fall open as Elia. The monks scatter like startled birds. Some pray, others flee. The raiders take what they came for. Cups of gold, carved crosses, chests of grain. They leave the rest untouched. Their purpose is not cruelty. It is necessity, born of hunger and hard lands. The leader calls out in the old tongue, his voice deep and steady. The men gather what they can carry, moving with practiced speed. They do not linger. The sound of shouts echoes through the trees. Perhaps another village has seen the smoke. It is Chimi to go. The silver gleams in the light as they return to the shore, their boots wet with grass and sea. The longship waits, patient and loyal. As they push off from the bank, The tide catches them once more. The oars dip in unison, pushing the ship toward the open sea. Behind them, the smoke rises slowly into the gray sky, curling like a ghost above the land. The men do not cheer. There is no laughter, no celebration, only the sound of water against wood and the heavy rhythm of rowing. Hours later, when the coastline is just a line on the horizon, they finally rest. The leader opens the chest and reveals the spoils: silver, food, a few strange relics of foreign gods. The men murmur softly, their faces weary but proud. They have survived the crossing, faced danger, and returned with proof of their courage. That night, under a calm sky, they light a small fire on the shore of a distant island. They share bread, drink, water, and pass the silver between them, each man holding it for a moment before setting it down. The flames flicker across their faces, turning their expressions thoughtful. No one speaks of the raid. They do not need to. The sea has already carried away the sound of what happened. In the stillness, one of the younger men looks back toward the dark horizon. The land they left behind is gone, swallowed by distance and fog. He wonders if the monks will remember their faces or if the wind will erase them, leaving only silence. The leader, sitting apart, gazes into the fire. He knows this is only the beginning. There will be more voyages, more raids, more shores waiting to be named. The sea whispers nearby, its waves lapping gently against the sand. The men lie down beside the fire, their bodies heavy with exhaustion. One by one, their eyes close. The stars shimmer above, reflected in the calm water. As the dragon-headed ship rests quietly in the shallows, its belly full of stories the world will one day tell in fear, in awe, and in wonder. The days after the raid are calm, eerily calm. The men sail north again, their ship heavier with silver and silence. The sea that once roared now murmurs softly beneath them, as if tired too. The wind is steady, gentle, carrying the scent of pine and salt. Some of the men sit quietly, mending their gear, their minds still on the land they left burning behind them. Others stare into the horizon, lost in thought. Victories at sea are never clean. They leave shadows behind. The leader stands at the prow, his hand on the carved dragon's head. Its wooden eyes stare into the mist, fierce and unblinking. He feels the weight of what they have done. Not guilt, but the heavy truth of survival. Every raid feeds their people. Every voyage keeps their families alive through the endless winters. The world beyond their fjords has much, and they have little. To take is not greed, but necessity. Still, the sea has a way of asking for balance. As night falls, they pull the longship to a small bay sheltered by cliffs. The stars return, countless, cold, and bright. A fire burns low on the sand as they eat in silence. One man hums a quiet tune, an old song of home. The sound drifts softly over the waves. It's a song of fields, of wives waiting, of children who dream of their father's return. The younger men listen with faraway eyes. For a moment, the wildness fades, replaced by longing. When dawn comes, the leader gives the order to sail east toward home. The sea is kinder now, pushing them along with steady hands. Gulls follow the ship for hours, their cries echoing over the water. Sometimes dolphins appear beside them, leaping through the waves as if guiding them home. The men take it as a sign of favor, that the gods are pleased, that their courage has been seen. After many days, the coastline of their homeland begins to emerge from the mist. Jagged cliffs rise from the water, green and gray, familiar and fierce. The smell of peat smoke drifts faintly through the air. The men's hearts lift. Even the tired ones begin to smile. As the ship enters, the fjord voices carry across the wind the sound of home, of safety. Villagers gather at the shore, their eyes wide as they see the longship glide in, its sail marked with salt and blood. Children run ahead, calling names, pointing at the glint of silver. The men step onto the sand, their legs weak but steady. Wives and families rush forward. There are tears, laughter, the rough grip of hands clasping in relief. That night, the village is alive with warmth. Fires burn high, meat roasts over the flames, and horns of ale pass from hand to hand. The silver is divided fairly, as the law of the sea demands. Each man takes his share. The rest is given to the chieftain and the gods. Songs rise into the night, not of conquest, but of endurance, of storms survived and brothers returned. Later, when the feasting fades and the stars rise again, The leader stands alone by the water. The longship rests quietly, its hull scarred by the journey. He runs his hand over the wood, feeling the rough grooves of battle and storm. The sea is calm now, reflecting the moon like polished glass. Yet he knows it will not stay calm forever. In the stillness, he thinks of the monks, of the distant land, of the fire that reached into the sky. The gods have given him strength, but they have also given him memory. He whispers a short prayer to Injured for safe seas, and to Odin for wisdom, not just in battle, but in the choices that follow it. Behind him, laughter drifts from the village, the sound of life continuing. He smiles faintly, then turns away from the shore. For now, he is home. But deep inside, he already feels the pull again. That quiet call from the horizon, the promise of another voyage, another story waiting beyond the edge of the world. Winter settles over the fjord like a long breath held by the earth. The days grow short, the nights endless and heavy with snow. The longship is pulled high onto the shore, its hull covered with furs to protect it from ice and wind. The sea sleeps under a sheet of gray, silent except for the slow crack of frozen waves. The village, once filled with the noise of hammers and laughter, now moves slower. Inside the longhouses, the fires never die. Smoke curls from the rooftops into the cold air. Families gather close, wrapped in thick wool and fur. The smell of burning pine fills the air, mingling with the scent of fish, stew, and roasted meat. The warriors who sailed together now sit beside their hearths, telling stories of storms and raids, of faraway lands and strange gods. Their voices are low, their words like music, slow, steady, meant to be listened to by firelight. Children sit at their feet, wide-eyed, imagining the great longships cutting through dark waters, the clash of swords, the gleam of gold. To them, these men are heroes, men who spoke to the sea and returned alive. But the older ones know better. They see the way the raiders fall silent between stories, their eyes distant, seeing things no words can describe. The sea takes something from every man who crosses it. Outside, the snow drifts higher, muffling every sound. The world becomes small again, only fire, breath, and memory. The leader spends many nights alone, standing at the edge of the frozen shore. He watches the moon reflect off the ice, the mountains black and still in the distance. He thinks of the men who did not return, their names now carried only by the wind. He thinks of the raid, not with pride or regret, but with understanding. Life and death are both part of the same tide. During the longest nights, the villagers gather in the great hall for stories and song. Skalds the poets sing of the gods, of Odin's wisdom, Thor's storms, and Freya's grace. They also sing of men who sailed across the unknown and brought home silver and honor. The leader listens quietly, the flickering firelight casting his face in gold and shadow. He knows that these stories are what hold their people together, the promise that courage, even in the face of death, is never forgotten. As the weeks pass, the storms grow stronger. The wind howls through the valley like a beast searching for warmth. Yet inside the longhouse, the people endure. They carve wood, mend sails, and prepare for spring. The longship waits by the shore, half buried in snow, dreaming of the open sea. The men sharpen their weapons not for war, but from habit. The rhythm of readiness never leaves them. Then, one morning, the sky begins to change. The sun lingers longer on the horizon, and the snow starts to melt in small, secret plosies. Drops of water trickle down the ship's hull like tears. The sea moves again, slow at first, then faster, whispering its eternal song. The leader feels the shift deep inside him. The pull returns, that restless calling from beyond the fjord. It's not greed, not hunger, but something older and harder to name. The sea has given them life, taken their dead, and still it asks for more. He looks at his people, the children who will one day sail, the old ones who remember every voyage, and he knows the truth. The Vikings belong to the sea. No matter how warm the hearth, how deep the sleep, the horizon will always wait. And when the ice finally breaks, they will answer again. Spring arrives quietly, almost shyly. The snow recedes into the mountains, and rivers roar with new life. The air smells of wet earth and pine, and the first green shoots push through the thawing soil. The fjord, once sealed by ice, opens its blue eyes again. The sea breathes, vast, restless, eternal. The longship, freed from its winter prison, stands waiting by the shore like a beast eager to move. The village awakens with purpose. Men repair sails and tighten ropes. Women weave cloth and prepare food for the journeys ahead. The clang of metal echoes across the valley as blades are sharpened, not out of bloodlust, but readiness. The world beyond the sea is calling again softly, steadily, the same way it has called for generations. The leader walks among his people, watching them work. He feels older this spring, not weak, but aware. The winters are longer now, or perhaps his bones are slower to warm. Yet as he looks at the ship, at the faces of the younger men, eager to see what lies beyond the horizon, he feels the fire stir within him again. The sea does not age, and neither does the longing for it. At night, when the sun lingers late and the stars come slowly, the village gathers once more for the spring feast. Tables are heavy with food, mead flows freely, and laughter fills the air. The skald stands again, voice deep and rhythmic, telling of the old gods and the brave who journeyed far. He speaks of Odin's wanderings, of men who sought wisdom and found fate instead. The room grows quiet as the fire crackles. Every man listens, knowing the story is not just myth, it is reflection. When the feast ends, the leader steps outside. The air is cool, the sea glimmering faintly under the moon. He hears the gulls cry and the waves brush against the shore, soft, steady, inviting. In that sound he hears everything: adventure, danger, survival, the pulse of the world itself. He knows he will sail again, not for gold, not even for glory, but because it is who he is. A Viking's soul cannot rest in stillness. The next morning, the longship is ready. Its hull gleams with fresh tar, the dragon's head polished and fierce. Supplies are packed: dried meat, fish, grain, water barrels. The crew gathers, some familia, others young and untested. The leader looks at them and nods. No grand speech, no ceremony, just purpose. They push the ship into the water. The cold tide splashes against their legs, but no one flinches. The oars find their rhythm again, slow at first, then stronger, smoother. The sail rises, catching the wind with a deep, living sigh. The ship glides forward, leaving ripples that shimmer like silver behind it. From the shore, the villagers watch until the longship becomes a dark shape against the bright morning sea. The children wave, their voices small and bright in the wind. The women stand silent, proud, knowing this is how it has always been. The leader stands at the prow, the salt wind in his hair, the horizon wide and open ahead. He does not know what the years pass like waves, each one rising, breaking, and fading into the next. The raids grow fewer as the seasons turn, and the leader's hair becomes streaked with silver. His hands, once strong enough to pull an oar for hours, now ache when the cold sets in. But his eyes still hold the same light, the quiet fire that no age can put out. He spends more time by the shore now, watching the longships come and go, carrying the next generation to their own fates across the sea. The world is changing. The distant lands they once raided have grown stronger, their kings wiser to the ways of the Northmen. Trade begins to replace plunder. Silver changes hands, not through blood, but through barter, where once they took. Now they exchange furs for spices, iron for silk stories for stories. The leader watches this shift with pride, not sorrow. His people are adapting, surviving, as they always have. The sea still provides, though in gentler ways. Some nights, when the wind is calm, he sits by the fire with the young ones, boys who stare at him as if he were a living legend. They ask about the old days, about the raids, the storms, the gods. He tells them of courage, of endurance, of what it means to face the horizon without fear. But his stories are not of glory. They are of balance, how every voyage carries both life and death, and how the sea gives meaning only to those who respect it. His voice is slow, almost like the tide itself, patient, unhurried, full of memory. Sometimes he dreams of that first voyage, the salt wind, the rhythm of oars, the fire on the distant shore. He remembers the faces of his brothers, some gone, some still living, and the sound of their laughter echoing over the waves. He dreams of the long ship gliding through fog, of stars reflected on the water like fragments of the god's own eyes. In these dreams, he is young again, his heart beating with the rhythm of the sea. One morning, before dawn, He walks to the shore alone. The air is cold but gentle, and the sky is painted with faint streaks of light. The longship rests on the beach, worn and quiet, its dragon head softened by time. He touches the wood, feeling its scars beneath his fingers, each one a memory carved by wind, wave, and battle. He looks out at the horizon, endless, pale, calling, the same horizon he has known all his life. The sea murmurs softly, almost like a voice he closes his eyes and listens. In that sound he hears everything. The laughter of his crew, the cries of gulls, the crash of waves, the whisper of the gods. The ocean is not a place to him, it is a presence, an old friend waiting patiently. When the villagers find him later, he is sitting by the water, calm and still. The tide moves gently around his feet, as if welcoming him home. They say his face looks peaceful, as though he were simply listening to the sea one last time. That night, the skalds sing of him, the leader who sailed beyond fear, who brought his people through storm and winter. They sing of his strength, his wisdom, and the way he heard the voice of the sea even in silence. His name joins the old songs, carried from hull to hull, from shore to shore. And so his story becomes part of the endless tide, not ending, but returning again and again with every wave that touches the shore. For as long as there is wind and water, there will be those who hear the same call. The horizon will always wait, and somewhere a longship will always rise to meet it.